Welcome to your English Learning Deep Dive. We're going way beyond just hello and goodbye today.
That's right.
We're diving deep into descriptive language. It's like we're going to give your English vocabulary a whole makeover.
Ooh, I like that. A makeover.
With color.
Huh.
We've got an awesome guide all about colors and shades and, those tricky opposites.
It's really amazing how much we can say with just a few simple color turns. It's not just about, naming stuff. It's
Right.
about painting a picture with your words.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics, the primary colors. Red, blue, yellow, just like a bright red apple.
Mm-hmm.
The clear blue sky or a big yellow sunflower. Pretty simple.
Yeah, this seems simple, but those primary colors are your building blocks. Like, think about it. You can't build a house without a good foundation.
Yeah.
And you can't create all the other amazing colors without these three.
And that takes us right to those vibrant secondary colors,
Yeah.
like green grass,
Yeah.
a juicy orange, or a beautiful purple flower. They all come from mixing those primary colors.
Now, here's a fun little challenge. Our guide has a practice exercise for identifying these colors. It's a good way to test yourself
Oh, fun.
and see how well you're understanding these terms. Why don't you pause and give it a try?
Great idea. Now, what about those colors that don't always get all the attention? Those neutral colors, like black, white, brown, gray.
Right.
They might not be flashy, but they're everywhere.
Yeah, think of them as like the unsung heroes of the color world. They provide balance and, create a background
Okay.
for all those bright colors. Like, imagine a room painted entirely in primary colors.
Whoa.
It'd be way too much. You need those neutrals to tone things down a bit.
Create some harmony.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you ready to add another layer? Our guide introduces the idea of shades of color.
Okay.
It's like taking those basic colors we just talked about and adding subtle variations.
Oh, this is where description gets really interesting. Instead of just saying blue, we can talk about light blue,
Mm,
dark blue, even pale blue. It's like adding depth to a painting,
I like that.
making it more visually appealing.
Right. It's the difference between saying I see a green tree and I see a tree with dark green leaves against a pale blue sky.
Yeah.
It's so much more descriptive.
Exactly. And our guide has another practice exercise where you can try completing sentences with different shades. It's a fun way to play with those subtle differences.
Awesome. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about opposites. You know those word pairs that are like two sides of the same coin?
Yeah.
Big and small, hot and cold.
Opposites are really cool because they help us understand not just individual words, but like the relationships between them.
Ooh.
It's like you're building this mental map in your head of how concepts connect and, contrast with each other.
Our guide points out some common pairs like big, small, hot, cold.
Mm-hmm.
Fast, slow, even, happy, sad. And it uses super clear, simple sentences to show you what they mean.
Those simple examples are so effective.
Yeah.
Like the coffee is hot, but the ice cream is cold. Boom. It tells you right away what those opposites mean without getting too complicated.
And guess what? There's another practice exercise where you can test your understanding of those opposites. Don't be shy. Go for it.
Yeah, it's not just about memorizing vocabulary. It's about understanding how words work together.
Okay.
And that's a key part of mastering any language.
You ready for the next level?
Huh.
Our guide takes those colors and opposites we've been talking about and combines them in descriptive sentences.
Okay.
Like imagine saying the big balloon is red and the small balloon is blue.
Think about what you're doing there. You're not just describing size or color separately.
Right.
You're putting them together to create a more detailed picture. It's like taking two different skills and combining them into something way more interesting.
I like it. All right, now here's a challenge. Try creating your own sentences using colors and opposites. You can describe things around you, make up fantastical creatures, whatever you want. It's a great way to practice those language skills.
It's all about active learning. Don't just sit there and listen.
Right.
Get involved. Take these words and make them your own.
Now, who wants to have a little fun?
Yeah.
Our guide has a section called Fun Word Games because, learning should be fun.
Totally. Games are an awesome way to learn new words without it feeling like work. It's like sneaking in some exercise while you're having a good time.
I like it.
You got your color match and opposite pairing games, all designed to make those words stick in your brain.
Now, remember how we said color is about more than just, what we see?
Mm-hmm.
Get ready for this. Color can have totally different meanings in different cultures.
This part of the guide is super interesting. Yeah. It highlights those little cultural differences that can really trip us up if we're not careful. Did you know that in some Western cultures, white is for weddings, but in some Asian cultures, it's for mourning?
Wow,
That's a pretty big difference.
that's a big difference. It really makes you realize how important context is when we're communicating,
Absolutely.
especially with people from different cultures. Even something as simple as color can mean totally different things.
Yeah, and red is another good example. In China, it means good luck and prosperity. Oh, yeah.
But in a lot of Western countries, it can mean danger or even, passionate love.
It's like color has its own secret language. The guide even has a discussion activity to get you thinking about what colors represent in your own culture. It's a cool way to personalize what you're learning and really make those connections stronger. Okay, let's move on to additional practice. Because practice makes perfect right,
Oh, yeah, especially when it comes to language.
especially when it comes to language.
What we got here?
This section is all about making sure you really know the basics.
Okay.
You got listening practice with audio examples to help you with your pronunciation and make sure you're understanding everything.
Okay.
And then there's the speaking practice prompt where you get to describe your favorite thing using all those great words and opposites we've been talking about. It's a fantastic way to improve your fluency and get more confident speaking English. It's all about taking those words off the page and saying them out loud. Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, have fun with it.
So true.
Welcome back to our deep dive, all about descriptive language. It's crazy how much we've already covered.
I know, right? From basic colors to shades and those opposites.
Mhm.
I'm ready to put it all into practice. I bet we could find tons of colorful examples right here.
Oh, definitely. Like, it's about training our eyes to see everything in a more descriptive way. For example, instead of just saying, oh, look, a plant,
Yeah.
you could say something like, wow, look at those bright green leaves and delicate white flowers.
I like it. And what about that picture over there? We can talk about the deep blues and warm browns, or even how the artist used light and shadow.
Exactly. Like, by adding in those colors and opposites, we can create a richer description. It's like going from a simple sketch to a full-blown painting.
Speaking of painting, remember that speaking practice prompt from our guide, the one where we describe our favorite objects.
Oh, yeah.
I'm feeling inspired.
I'm in. Let's see. I really love this old leather notebook I have. It's
Yeah.
a deep brown color, and it's so smooth from years of use. And the pages are full of black ink and faded pencil drawings.
It sounds like a treasure chest of ideas. Me,
Mhm.
I'm really drawn to that little ceramic owl over there. It's got these bright yellow eyes that just seem to twinkle,
Oh.
and they really stand out against its soft gray feathers.
Those descriptions really make them come to life.
Yeah.
And notice how we just use those color terms and opposites naturally. It's becoming like second nature.
Totally. It's like we're getting a workout for our descriptive muscles. So how about we switch gears a bit and check out that listening practice section? It's a good way to practice understanding spoken English.
I agree. Like, it's one thing to see words on paper, but hearing them out loud is a whole other level. Want to try one of the audio examples?
Totally. Let's see. Here's one. The yellow taxi sped through the busy streets while the slow black limousine waited patiently at the curb.
Did you hear how the speaker used the words sped and waited patiently to really emphasize the difference between the taxi and the limo?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the colors that create that picture, it's the verbs, too.
That's such a good point. It reminds us that descriptive language isn't just about adjectives and adverbs. It's about using words that create a certain mood or feeling.
Yes. Okay, let's do another one. Here we go. The tiny red ladybug landed gently on the enormous green leaf.
I love how they use tiny and enormous
Yeah.
to really show the difference in size between the ladybug and the leaf.
Right. And the sentence is so simple that it's easy to understand even if you're still learning English. It just shows that you don't need fancy words to be descriptive.
Okay, now remembering that we're talking about learning English, it's important to remember that there are a lot of different accents out there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get discouraged if you hear someone say a word a little differently.
Uh-huh.
The most important thing is to understand what they're saying.
Right. English is spoken all over the world, and it's always changing. Don't be afraid of those differences. They're what make the language so interesting and expressive.
Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about that section on cultural insights and colors.
Right.
It was really eye-opening. Like, I never realized how much our culture shapes how we see color.
Yeah, it really shows that even something as basic as color can mean different things to different people.
Wow.
We talked about white and red, but there's so many other examples.
Like blue, for instance.
Yeah.
In lots of Western cultures, blue means calm and peace.
Yeah, right.
But in some Middle Eastern cultures, it's about protection from bad spirits.
Interesting. And in some South American cultures, yellow is the color of mourning and death.
Wow.
While in lots of Western cultures, it means happiness. It's a good reminder to think about these differences when you're talking to people from other cultures.
It's not just about avoiding awkward situations. It's about understanding and respecting the different ways people experience the world.
Now I have a challenge for you.
Okay.
What other colors have special meaning in your culture or in other cultures you know about?
Ooh, that's a good one. It makes us think about the world around us in a new way. Like in many indigenous cultures, green is really important. It represents nature and the cycle of life.
That's a beautiful example. It shows how color can be a symbol of cultural identity and what people believe. Exploring color and culture is a journey full of cool discoveries and unexpected connections.
It is.
But for now, let's take a break. We'll be right back with part 3 to talk more about using colors and opposites in your everyday English conversations.
Welcome back to our deep dive on descriptive language. We've learned so much about colors and shades and opposites, but now let's talk about how to actually use all of this in real-life conversations.
Yeah, that's where the real learning happens, right? When you take those words and start using them with other people.
Exactly. So what are some ways that we can start using more color and opposites when we speak English?
Well, one simple thing is to just pay more attention to what you see around you and use colors to describe it. Like instead of just saying, look at that car,
Yeah.
you could say something like, wow, look at that shiny silver car, or that bright red car really stands out.
It's amazing how much of a difference just adding those color words makes.
I know, right?
Suddenly, the person listening can picture it so much better. And you don't need to use fancy vocabulary either.
Yeah.
Just simple colors like blue, green, yellow can really make your language more interesting.
For sure. And remember those shades we talked about?
Yeah.
You can use those to give even more detail. So instead of a brown dog, you could say a dog with light brown fur and dark brown eyes.
It's like you're painting a picture with your words.
Exactly.
And speaking of painting with words, opposites can be super powerful too. They can really add emphasis and make your conversations more interesting.
Totally. Like imagine you're describing the weather.
Okay.
Instead of just saying, it's nice out, you could say, it's a beautiful sunny day, a welcome change from yesterday's cold gray skies. Now you're not just talking about the weather, you're also expressing how you feel about it.
I like that. And the more we practice these things, the easier it will become right.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just like anything else, the more you do it, the more natural it will feel. Now, one thing that a lot of people struggle with when learning a new language is remembering all the new words. Do you have any tips for that?
Repetition is super important.
Hmm.
The more you use a word, the better you'll remember it. So don't be afraid to go back to those practice exercises in our guide.
Yeah.
Or even make up your own. Visual aids can be really helpful too.
Oh, yeah. Visuals are great, like flashcards with pictures and words, or even a color chart where you label all the different shades. Sometimes seeing the color together with the word can make it easier to remember.
And don't forget to make it fun.
Yes.
Try using colors and opposites when you're doing everyday things. Like when you're cooking, describe the ingredients you're using. Or when you're getting dressed, think about the colors and textures of your clothes.
Yeah. The more you play around with the language, the more confident you'll become. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. Just have fun with it.
That's so important. Well, looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive on descriptive language. I know, right?
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. We've explored colors and shades and opposites and how they can make our English more colorful and more interesting.
And I hope you feel inspired to start using these things in your own conversations, like add some spice to your language, make it come alive, and keep your ears open. Listen for how colors and opposites are used in movies, TV shows, even music.
It's everywhere. And every time you hear it, you're learning a little bit more about English. So
Yes.
keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep having fun.
Have fun.